Hey guys, my name's Eastsided. I've been a Pokemon fan for the past 2 decades, and my favorite Scarlet and Violet endgame content is farming the 5, 6, and 7 star raids. So in this video, I'll show you the best Pokemon and strategies for farming Delphox raids. Currently the Delphox raid has ended, however this video will be a useful resource for when the Delphox event returns next weekend, July 14th to 16th. This past weekend, I was able to farm hundreds of Fairy Tera shards, extra large XP candies, Carbos vitamins, and I even maxed out my large XP candies using these Pokemon in this video. Before we jump right into the Pokemon, first I want to talk about what Delphox brings to the table so we can be the best prepared. Delphox is a fire psychic type with a Fairy Tera type, so it's important to bring a Pokemon that resists Delphox's stab moves while dealing the most damage possible. Delphox has its hidden ability Magician, which will not be effective in this raid, so no need to specifically plan for it. Delphox's notable moves include Fire Blast, Will-O-Wisp, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, Nasty Plot, and Magic Room. And also I want to mention the importance of team synergies in raiding in general. I'll go more in depth in another video, but for a teaser, in a perfect world you would want 1 to 2 or even 3 DPS carries who will be responsible for dealing the most damage possible. In addition, especially for this raid, you want a debuffer that can lower the target's defenses while their shield is up. And lastly, you can consider a healer or a cleric who can spam healing moves such as Life Dew to keep the team healthy. These are not hard roll locks, and deviations can be made depending on your teammates, but it's something important to keep in mind when you're selecting your Pokemon. Alright, let's jump into our first option here, which will be the DPS Carry Pokemon for this raid. And the best option here is Heatran. With Heatran's Fire and Steel typing and the ability Flash Fire, it's a hard counter for Delphox because it'll be immune or resistant to Delphox's stab moves. The problem with Heatran is it doesn't have reliable recovery, so pairing Heatran with a healer can supplement Heatran's lack of healing. It's very important that the Heatran is Steel Tera Type, so it will be dealing the most damage possible during the Delphox's shield. For the item, you can use Shell Bell to give your Heatran some recovery. However, I believe Covert Cloak is a better item 9 out of 10 times. For those who don't know, Covert Cloak prevents Heatran from additional effects and moves, so Delphox's Psychics have a 10% chance to lower your special defense, and 1 to 2 random special defense drops will lose you the raid. So with Covert Cloak, the strategy is more consistent, and you won't be losing to those RNG special defense drops. Keep in mind, when Delphox uses Magic Room, when it's about 50% HP, it'll make your held item lose its effect. So if you were using a Shell Bell, you would lose your recovery option at that point. For Nature, I recommend Modest. For EVs, I recommend Max Special Attack to deal the most damage, and Max HP to allow you to stay alive longer. For moves, I recommend Metal Sound, Flash Cannon, and Steel Beam, and whichever 4th move you'd like. It's important to note that you should PP max your Flash Cannon because sometimes the raid may take more than 10 Flash Cannons to win. In my personal experience, in the worst case scenario, I had used 11 Flash Cannons to win, so if I did not PP max Flash Cannon, I would not have had enough to close out the raid. The game plan here is to use Metal Sound to get Delphox to -4 or -6 special defense before attacking. If you have an Acid Sprayer supporter, this will go quicker. Once Delphox's special defense is lowered, you have 2 options. If Delphox does not remove its debuffs and the shield is not up yet, then use Steel Beam. It's your stronger move choice, but you will lose 50% of your HP. I only recommend to use Steel Beam if Delphox is -6 special defense, and you are healthy enough to live. If the Delphox has its shield up, then you want to spam Flash Cannon to build towards your Tera. If you're healthy, Tera into your Steel type, and this is where your ability Flash Fire comes in. As a mono Steel type now, you should be weak to Delphox's strong Fire Blast, but the Flash Fire ability makes you immune to fire attacks, so you'll still resist all of Delphox's moves. You want to continue to spam Flash Cannon till you win. Easy peasy. The downside of Heatran is its availability. As you cannot catch Heatran in Scarlet and Violet currently, it will need to transfer one via Pokemon Home. Another DPS carry option you could use is an Armor Rouge or a Ceruledge. However, I didn't have enough experience with these Pokemon, so I can't give an in-depth strategy with those. But in my experience, when my teammates used Armarouge, we always won the raid. Our next option is a debuffer, and I believe every Delphox raid needs at least one debuffer, because Delphox will remove its special defense drops pretty quickly into the raid, and your DPS will not be able to deal significant damage at that point. So the best move option here is a Pokemon with access to the move Acid Spray, which will lower your target's special defense by 2 stages every time you attack, even when the shield is active. My favorite option here is Hisuian Goodra, with your goal being to Acid Spray to keep Delphox at -6 special defense, and use attack cheers to buff your DPS's damage. Heatran doesn't have a way to buff its own attack, and the Heatrans will be too busy attacking to cheer, so it'll be your role to cheer. For my Hisuian Goodra, I use Shell Bell to allow it more sustainability, but you can use an HP recovery berry as well, like a citrus berry. Your goal here is to not deal the most damage possible, but to ensure you stay alive so your teammates can deal the most damage possible. For its ability, I recommend Shell Armor, which will prevent critical hits, so it removes that RNG chance of a crit ruining your raid. I recommend Modest Nature with max special attack and max HP, because Hisuian Goodra is inherently bulky without the need of training its defenses, so with max special attack, you can still deal decent damage alongside your DPS while surviving multiple attacks. For moves, I recommend Acid Spray, Flash Cannon, and Rain Dance, and here I have Dragon Pulse, but if you want to be the most optimal, you'd want to be running Life Dew. Hisuian Goodra has the same downsides as Heatran, as it can only be accessed via Pokemon Home. So some other successful debuffers I saw used in my raids was Armarouge with Acid Spray. In theory, any Acid Sprayer could work, but it's important to keep in mind that you must be resistant to Delphox's Fire, Psychic, and Fairy stabs. And that's why Hisuian Goodra and Armarouge are the most popular choices for supporters. So our debuffers we discussed focused on Acid Spray to lower Delphox's defenses, but debuffers that lessen Delphox's damage can also be helpful. So if you join online raid with a Heatran player and an Acid Sprayer, maybe you could bring a Pokemon with the move Snarl to lower Delphox's special attack power. Or, more importantly, a Pokemon with the access to the move Clear Smog, such as Ceruledge or Armarouge. About halfway throughout the raid, Delphox will use Nasty Plot, doubling its special attack, which may result in you and your teammates being knocked out. So Clear Smog will remove its Nasty Plot buff, with the unfortunate downside of removing its defensive debuffs as well. So you only want to use Clear Smog once immediately after Nasty Plot. If you spam Clear Smog, then the Delphox will always have neutral defenses, and the raid may take too long and you could be blown out of the raid den. Our last role to consider is a healer cleric Pokemon, with your goal being to ensure your teammates don't faint. I believe a healer synergizes with the Heatran very well because the Heatran can use Steel Beam more consistently without the fear of fainting, because they'll always be getting healed while using Steel Beam. So a healer plus Steel Beam user can increase your time efficiency greatly because Steel Beam deals way more damage than Flash Cannon. For specific healers, many different options could work, such as Cresselia, Chansey, Blissey, Hatterene, or even Indeedee. From my experience, I found great success with Chansey because it has access to healing moves such as Life Dew and Healing Pulse, has access to Light Screen to buff your team's special defense, and access to Helping Hand to buff your DPS's damage even more. You could consider Cresselia because it is the only cleric currently available in Scarlet and Violet with its signature move Lunar Blessing, which can heal your teammates much like Life Dew, with the additional effect of removing their status conditions. So if you have teammates bringing physical attackers, then you can remove the Will-O-Wisp burn that Delphox may apply while healing at the same time with Lunar Blessing. Cresselia has access to similar moves as Chansey, such as Light Screen and Helping Hand, and to be optimal, I'd recommend Cresselia, but the healer could be several different options for this raid. I'll show you my Chansey build. So I recommend Chansey over Blissey because it can take advantage of the item Eviolite, which will double its defenses, so it's actually bulkier than its evolution. For moves, I recommend Life Dew and Healing Pulse as your healing options, Helping Hand, and here I have Echoed Voice, but to be the most optimal, it should probably be Light Screen. This is my generic healing Chansey that I use in all my different raids when I'm supporting, So I have max HP and max defense. For Delphox, you would want max HP and max special defense. And my preferred ability is Healer, because sometimes it'll cure your teammates' status conditions, allowing for more of a cleric role like Cresselia. So to summarize, I recommend Heatran and or Armarouge for your DPS carry options, Hisuian Goodra or Armarouge for your debuffer options, and maybe a healer, but if you have a strong core, then a healer may not be needed. Even though I didn't use Armarouge personally, it may be the best all-rounder for this raid, because it has access to important moves such as Acid Spray, Light Screen, Clear Smog, and it has access to strong special steel move and Flash Cannon. I may have to build an Armarouge for this weekend, so if you'd like to see an in-depth video on Armarouge, make sure you let me know in the comments. Well, thank you guys so much for watching till the end. Good luck farming Delphox next weekend. Comment which mods you plan on using, and don't forget to like and subscribe to boost this video in the algorithm.